Well, first of all, just for the audience, like signal-based selling, tell us more about it. And then let's talk about
Uh,
how we steer a boat around that as well.
yeah. So signal-based selling, it's based on the I would say the assumption. It's not the assumption; it's the reality that in a given market, there's probably 5% maximum of companies that will be at a given point in market for a given type of solution.
Hmm.
And the idea is to harness technologies, and I'm going to explain how it can look like to figure out which are the ones.
Right.
And based on that, you can direct your effort to them. So I think it's an area where, because it's a buzzword, people lump tons of things, signal. First is intent. So think of a Bombora. There's alternate ways where you look at the content that people are consuming. You have the alternate way that looks at the ads that people are consuming. So that's one way. Then you have all the signals that the company may give on the internet. So they are hiring for a role. You can analyze job descriptions to figure out where they're investing from a technology standpoint. You can track job changes. All these indicate a potential interest. And this finally, what I call, and this is truly signals. Now I'm lumping a bit intended signals. And then there's engagement. And engagement, depending on your motion, can mean different things. At minimum is tracking who is coming to your website. It can be also if you are on using a product like motion, it can be tracking how people are using across the company your product to decide when to introduce a seller. So it's really the combination of those three things.
That's awesome. Matt, you do a lot of that, right?
We do. Yeah, it's interesting. We don't use a lot of like dedicated applications for that. Well, we fall into the category of, or where I believe everything is going, which we use a lot of tools in the modern data stack. So we're using tools like Fivetran and Airbyte to collect information from how people are using the products, but also how people are engaging with our ads, specifically on LinkedIn. I think we use Airbyte to pull engagement data there. Not just are they clicking on it, but like have they actually seen it, which is really interesting. And then we are piping in data from a data source. No free commercials here, but the company is called Sumble. That scrapes for job postings and things like that. They sort of operate in the same place as business like Clay. I think they're just a little younger. And we just pipe all that data into our warehouse, push it back out to CRM and some of our other downstream business tools, and that works just fine. And what's interesting is like I see a lot of the sales tech that's coming out that does this, but I think if you're a business that's pretty technically savvy, you can actually get a lot of this data without having to necessarily go out and buy these products.
Yeah. And the two things that are super promising is job postings. I think you have a wealth of information. You can figure out technographics from job posting. And this is much more powerful than just scraping a website because not all technology is visible on a website. The second thing is what people are doing on social networks and communities. What we've seen in the last couple of years is content is much more consumed now on social networks and communities. And social networks in particular, they're pretty close. They're a walled garden. So now we start to see technologies as well as regulation that forces those walled gardens to open up. That can give you tons of very interesting things. And the name of the game is exactly what Matt described, is how you can suck all this information, put it in a repository where you can apply AI, because the volume of information is completely insane. And the way to make sense of those signals is very likely to be specific to each and every business.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that's challenging for a lot of the technology companies that are coming out that are applying this data or supplying the data, I should say, is that they strive to be a one size fits all, and that it just doesn't work. And so, as a company, like sometimes if you're harnessing intent data, you think you're getting the right type of intent data, but you might not actually be. So if you have the capacity to go dictate what you actually believe is intent data and capture that can be far more interesting.
And indeed, so a number of tech companies are building their own infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Now, to your earlier question, Craig, I do see a kind of a mini category emerging. So let's be prudent with mini categories, because that's so something we might want to discuss. What's a true category? But it's hard to build from scratch a data repository. Mm-hmm. Not everybody has the skills on staff to apply the models. So there's different the solution out there. There's pure repository. There's some that also come together with data sources, but that's definitely something that I see happening. And it could almost be the transition to another area I'd love to discuss is the CRM your system of record?
Oh, well, Jesus, I mean, you're just buttering that up now. My God, man.
My favorite guest. My favorite guest.
I mean, man, well, let's do that, because I knew Matt would light up. I'm not sure if I shared with him some of our notes.